a few years back, and they told me black means a hole where other folks got brain. It was like the cells in the heads of black children was out to every hour on the hour naps. Scientists call the phenomenon the notorious Jensen lapse, remember? Anyway, I was thinking about how to devise a test for the wise, like a Stanford Binet for the CIA, you know? Take Einstein being the most, the unquestionable, the outstanding, the maximal mind of the century, right? And I'm struggling against this lapse left over from my black childhood to fathom why anybody should say so. E equals MC squared. I try that on this old lady live on my block. She's sweeping away Saturday night from the stoop and mad as can be because some absolute jackass have left a king-size mattress where she have to sweep around it, stains and all she don't want to know nothing about in the first place. Mrs. Johnson, I say, leaning on the gate between us, what you think about somebody come up with a E equals MC2? How you doing? She answered me sideways like she don't want to let on she know I ain't combed my hair yet. And here it is Sunday morning, but still I have the nerve to be bothering serious work with these crazy questions about E equals, what you say again, dear? Then I tell her, well, also this same guy, I think he was undisputed father of the atom bomb. That right, she mumbles or grumbles not too politely. And then remembered to wear socks when he put on his shoes, I add on, getting desperate, at which point Mrs. Johnson take herself and her broom a very big step down the stoop away from me. And never did nothing for nobody in particular, lesson it was a committee, and used to say, what time is it? And you'd say 6 o'clock, and he'd say day or night. And he never made nobody a cup of tea in his whole brilliant life. And my voice rises slightly, and he didn't never boogie neither, never. Well, sing Mrs. Johnson, well, honey, I do guess that's genius for you. Well, I was extremely young when I began to think of myself as a poet, and I think that was the consequence of growing up in an extremely religious house where the Bible was something that you had to pretty much memorize, as well as hear it, you know, repetitively, endlessly on Sundays, and also in daily prayers in our home. And also the result of my father forcing me to read people such as Paul Laurence Dunbar and Shakespeare when I was really too young to understand what was being said, but I was able nonetheless to appreciate the sound of the language, and I became very excited about the sound possibilities of language. I never received any encouragement either from my family or from teachers in school until I guess I was an undergraduate at Barnard, really. But my friends, you know, my playmates and boyfriends and what have you, were very excited about what I could do on demand, more or less. I used to sell poetry, you know, I mean, I even pick up a little change. You know. And you tell me what kind of thing you wanted written to whom and why, and I would, you know, it's 5 cents, 10 cents, it would depend, you know, that kind of thing. So I felt it was a very profitable thing to do. You know? I mean, as a young child, actually, it was something I could do. You know, the way other people could build roller skate scooters really well that would, you know, go in straight lines. The only ones I could build were circles. But I could do this. I could turn out what you needed for special occasions. The live reading situation for me is the final criterion for my poetry. I mean by that I revise on the basis of audience response. You know, whether there is a response or there isn't. What that response is. Yeah. So or people come up and say, you know, that's I know what you were trying to do, but I listen to that, of course. So the orality and the actual participation and so forth, the poetry as an event is important to you, as opposed to something simply to be read. It's part of the process as far as of creation, and indispensable part of it for me. Okay. Because in other words, I assume that in everything I write, whether it's poetry or an essay, I assume an audience. That is to say, I assume that interaction. It's not a personal event. It's an effort at conversation, at least. You know.
And you expect and want feedback from that.
At least. Being a poet, you are asking people to take their time to listen to you. And I don't know why people should want to listen to me talk about myself. It seems to me that at least I have to attempt to be talking about something that clearly may involve more than myself, hopefully many people in the audience. The problem is right now that, I mean, as I see it for me, is that everything seems to me, everything political seems to me so urgent and of such an emergency nature that I feel that whatever chance I have to talk with people, you know, in large groups, I should really try to express something that has a kind of life and death implication. So, you know, whether that's about South Africa or lunches for school children or rape or something, I should not be, I don't see how I can afford to be what I call trivial, because these are not trivial times, it seems to me. I don't mean to be an alarmist or anything, but I really do think that this is an apocalyptic moment in our history. I mean, American history. As regards the poem on police violence, that poem presents some of my thinking on the subject really of self-defense. And I do feel that the black community in America has too long deferred a serious and fearless discussion of self-defense. I really feel that. I mean, every other group in this country and every other interest group in the world, from the Defense Department of the United States, you know, to Tel Aviv, feels perfectly comfortable to speak in terms of self-defense and to do anything at all under that heading. But when black people are concerned, you just say self-defense and everyone becomes very upset and excited, and the black people who have uttered that phrase themselves become extremely defensive and hasten to say, I mean, under these circumstances, and I'm not talking about violence and so on. I don't see anything wrong with violence in response to violence at all. It seems to me that, as far as I'm concerned, it seems to me that a nonviolent response to violence has certainly been tested by black Americans in this country by now. And I just wonder, when are we going to assess the meaning of that, those results, you know, and say, I mean, I think to survive as a people, you have to be tactically intelligent, and you say, well, this is what I want. For example, suppose I want a Voting Rights Act, and if we do this and we get that, then we say, fine, that tactic works. Now I say, I want my children to be able to walk the streets unarmed and not be murdered by the police, all right? And we have rallies and so forth. We have petitions. We have the policemen who murder unarmed black children going through the courts and emerging exonerated by the court system. And I say, well, clearly some other tactic is necessary. I mean, that's how I look at it. There has not been ever a conviction of the perpetrator of state violence against black life. There has never been a conviction for manslaughter even. Never. People who have been victimized become habituated to thinking of themselves that way, you know, as victims. They just think about it. They just kind of, not exactly wallow, but close to that, you know, kind of concentrate on what you don't have, what you can't do, what you don't know, you know what I mean? Which, to say the least, is rather self-defeating. I think rather, you know, and I think it does take an extremely self-conscious effort to shake that and to concentrate rather on what do I have, what can I do, what do I know, what access, you know, I mean, we have, I mean, just the public library system alone, for instance, in this country of America, is an amazing source of power. I mean, you know, ignorance is unforgivable in this country. Americans now are just really just like overwhelmed, like what is happening, what can we do, and and everybody's tendency, understandably, is to try and take care of yourself, cover your back, make sure you have a house, a door for the key. And I say that, as understandable as that is, it seems to me we cannot afford to divorce ourselves from what is happening in South Africa, for example, or for that matter, what is happening in West Germany or Poland, any more than the Reagan administration divides these issues. I think that the Reagan administration, the people they see everything in global terms, From Brooklyn to Angola is not a big jump for them at all. And I say that I think that unless we, the people, begin to be able rapidly to think in the same way, to make these connections really on a visceral level. I fear for the survival of us as a species. People, should avail themselves of information on every issue out here. People should know what a neutron bomb is. Everybody, that's not a white issue or a black issue. That's it. That's it. You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? So people say to me that nuclear energy is a white issue. I said, you are out of your mind.
Neutrons don't.
That's like trees are a white issue.
It will only blow up white people.
I mean, and they can do whatever they want to the rivers, as long as we have affirmative action. What are you saying? We can't. No one can afford this. We can't. That is a suicidal ghettoization of your mind. For sure, if there's anything I want to do with my work, is to encourage people, if not kick them, pull, drag, what have you, yank them into action. I mean, life is action. Inaction is death. And at this time, if you can't see that, at this specific instant of American history, if you cannot see that, I think you're already gone. Not a victim, gone. Gone.
I was asked by students to ask you, as a black woman writer, do you feel that you contribute or have something special to bring to literature because you are a female in particular? There's something simply because of that you bring to literature that's necessary or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
What that is. That was the second part of the question that they told me to ask you.
I think we are, all of us, are used to thinking of people who are persecuted and in some ways, in some very serious, deep ways, stifled as minority peoples. And once you understand that the status of women, historically and universally, has been and continues to be what it is, which is that of a despised group. And you understand that we are talking about 51% of human life on this planet. Then I think you begin to see that there are some possibilities here for radical change around the globe, at least on the basis of strength.
So do you see, for example, in this country, there's been sort of differences, say, between different communities and the feminist movement. Do you see those differences?
I would hope.
What
I would hope that more and more people would, women, feminists, black people, workers, would understand that hatred and power used to manipulate other people are all of our enemies, and to some extent, all of us possess these sins within our own spirits. And we have to expunge that from ourselves, our own racism, our own sexism. And at the same time, we have to stop acting like victims in order to stop being victims.